Actually, I'm Icelandic, but I drew the shortest straw, so I have to take this one in English. I hope there are a few that appreciate that. So let's just start. The theme around my presentation is the corporate network. Why I call it the future is now, it is because that all the things I'm going to mention here, a few things that I think are cool, they are actually possible to do right today. So you can start doing them pretty easily on a not so complicated network that you already might have. It has to be cool as well. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if some of the things I was doing with my customer wasn't cool, so it has to be cool as well. But you cannot have coolness if it only costs you money. So there have to be some return of investment, of course. So you have to take care of that as well. So the agenda is first going to talk about the corporate network power, using power in your network. And then I'm going to switch over to an example of Wi-Fi partnership with business partners. And Apple AirPlay will come up next, and then I'm going to spend some time on Wi-Fi services that includes presence and location analytics over Wi-Fi. All right. The typical company network, it's maybe not as fancy with your network, or some of you might have it this fancy, but the key thing here is that it's no rocket science, that we are just connecting endpoints. We are connecting computers, Wi-Fi access points, IP phones, etc., even the whole telepresence video rooms, video endpoints, and then of course we have the server farm or the services that we are offering our clients, our users. But we are not doing much more than that, but we have many possibilities to use our network to do a lot of things. So, for example, we have power inline switches. Who has power inline switches in their network? Can I see the hands? Who doesn't know? Okay. You might have, you don't even realize. So that is a typical thing that will simplify power management a lot, because you can power feed a device through the network cable, and that is the only cable that you need. So you can do that for the cameras, IP surveillance cameras, IP phones, wireless access points, and so on. But why not use it for something more? Why not powering up our lights with a network switch? It's possible. It has been for quite a while. Is anybody doing that right now? One guy. Stand up so we can see you. That's great. I have to talk to you afterwards. So that is one of the possibilities that you have, because for example, with LED lights, you can power up LED lights by just one Ethernet cable. It's considered a lot cheaper actually to lay Ethernet than traditional power. So that's one for the business guys. So it's not just cool. And also when you have IP-enabled lights, I mean, if it has an Ethernet cable, you probably can negotiate an IP address, and therefore you can control it in a manner that you didn't know before, and you can use some interactivity, like you see here on the left. Actually the possibilities are endless. But if you don't have PoE, or if you don't know if you have PoE, like some of you can still be cool. There are LED bulbs that actually have Wi-Fi connectivity, so you just need to put them in the usual place, and it will connect to your Wi-Fi network, and from there you have IP, so basically you can do anything. So that is pretty cool. I've seen some customers that already have this. Another really, really good business-wise example I have here is that with POE, actually, there is this case that I was actually a part of designing for a hotel. It is, I don't know what it was, 400, 600 rooms or something. The hotel, the contractor, they planned to maybe lay like 4, 6 or something Ethernet cable to each room, times 400 rooms or whatever it was. It was considerable cost. But our design for the network of the hotel, the wireless, etc., included access point. So this guy here in the hotel room. This switch was in the cabinet on the hall. You could connect the TV to the access point because it has a switch. And you could power up all the way from this switch. You can power up additional phone from this access point. So there's only one cable that came to that hotel room to power up AP and phone. That actually gave the return of investment because it was such a huge case, huge numbers, that the whole network, including the core network of the hotel and everything, actually there was a full return of investment at day 0. So that's pretty interesting, just by saving cables and power management. I don't have to look here, or since it's here. A few facts, technical facts. We can deliver 30 watts with the most recent standard. One vendor is delivering 60 watts already over the Ethernet. It's a small network company called Cisco Systems, or something like that. Device negotiates the power that it's going to take from your switch port, so it doesn't take the whole 30. So it's really important. And also, like I mentioned before about the LED lights, the LED lights actually require way less power than traditional lights. So there are considerable savings there in power usage. And least, but not the last important fact, is that backing up power with UPS, backing up power with a battery can be simplified a lot if you are powering up stuff from your Ethernet switch, because you only need to power up the switch, and that way you are backing up your lights, you are backing up your Wi-Fi access points, IP telephony, and so on. So that's a good consideration. So as I promised, it was only not cool that I was talking about POE. It is possible, it has business relevance. It will give you return of investment in many cases. So next, I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi in your company, my comfort zone. So the things I'm going to cover here are basically cases I've been working on recently. So we'll cover the business partners using each other's Wi-Fi, Apple AirPlay, presence, and location analytics. So let's just get started. So you have business partners that are communicating a lot of meetings. People are entering each other's facilities. But security-wise, it's not feasible to have them on your network because of several reasons. We can actually use Wi-Fi that is not belonging to us, and we can still advertise capabilities. And how? Actually, this is a potential example that, let's say, if Sensa and Harpan were in a business partnership, so people are going back and forth, and it would be time-consuming to, even though we have a great guest access system, that you have to prepare guest and temporary access and so on to make the guest connected, and that takes time, and that is time-consuming when you have maybe 10 guests a day for that same company. So the thing is that we can connect the wireless controllers together over a common network, like the internet or something, tunnel the traffic with a special technology that we have here, and actually if I was here in Harpan, this is not my equipment, but I could have Sensa network advertised all the way through here, and I would still be like I was in the office. And this would, of course, be vice versa. So that is pretty easy to do, and that's actually what we're doing in some cases. That is an interesting option. One thing I just want to mention, that there exists another solution called Office Extend. It's based on the same principles, but this AP is just on the internet, on your home network, and it can actually tunnel the traffic to your corporate network. You open up your PC, you are connected to the same network that you are used to when you're at work. So you have access to everything that you used to have without VPN or anything. So the summary about that is, of course, as promised, it's going to pay up. It is pretty cool. So you enter a meeting, you open up your PC in another facility than your own, and you just work. That's worth a while. Next, Apple AirPlay. How many of you are using Apple at work? Okay, that's way more than we're using Power over Ethernet. That's the thing. We are bring your own device, scenario. So we are using everything today, and we have to support our users because the users want to use certain devices, and that's fine. But Apple actually, for example, Apple AirPlay. This is about mirroring, of course, content to projectors, and it's pretty cool when you enter a meeting and you can just open up your Apple and start sharing your screen cordlessly, wirelessly. I like that. But it is actually not designed to work on a corporate network. So when your network is segmented, it's a big network, many locations and so on, this protocol will actually break because it was the designer forgot it was supposed to work outside the home network. So how to solve it? There is a demand to solve this problem. So there is a little thing called MDNS, multicast DNS, and it works basically like this. You see that the iPad here is on a different network than the Apple TVs in this case, but still the controller, when it sees an advertisement, it will by magic advertise this capability to other devices anywhere they are in the network, so they can actually stream like it was on a home network. So that's a typical trick that we have to do to meet the marketing demand. It's a little example. So, I mean, hopefully you will not have your naming convention like this. It's pretty confusing, but if you have big facilities like, for example, a school with hundreds of classrooms, a long list like that would be pretty confusing. So actually what we can do additionally are many things. For example, we can filter by location. So if you are in this school, you will only see your AirPlay list, and the next school see its own as well. And also there are a lot of things that sometimes the Apple TV or the Air server is on the wire, so that is not picked up by the wireless controller, but we can actually have our APs, the access points, to pick it up on the wire and advertise it, so we still have flexibility there. So the summary is like that. Wi-Fi services. So next up is the services that we can use on our Wi-Fi network. So we are using, I mean, Wi-Fi brings you productivity, of course. It's no rocket science because you are moving users and they can connect from anywhere. That saves a lot of time. But I'm going to talk about now is presence and location analytics. Let's see what let's see what's that about. Why use it? It's actually many things that you can use, and I'm just naming a few here just to give you some ideas. I mean, potentially for an airport, already airports are doing this, like for example, in Copenhagen, seeing where the users are queuing up, because we have Wi-Fi devices in our pockets, and we can scan those and see where they are gathering. You could have interactive lights or anything if you if you're present to a you're in a Wi-Fi network. Something you could program something to happen. That has been done already. The presence, actually, will show you an example that we did at Sensa with this, with the presence part of it. And also there are a few others, like wayfinding service. So if you have, like this app you have here at UTmessan app that some of you might have downloaded. It's a pretty cool app that gives you the schedule for this convention. It would be pretty cool if they added Wi-Fi capabilities to that, so you could have wayfinding with the Wi-Fi system that is already there to find, for example, this lecture. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, so these are a few things. The building blocks is actually not that complicated. We have wireless APs, we have wireless controllers. I mean, how many of you have wireless controllers? How many don't know? Nobody doesn't know. Educated crowd. So we have the wireless control. We have the analytics service. That is actually what I'm going to talk about a little bit right now. But the key thing is that if you want to locate something in a network, you need to put your APs around the clients that you're trying to locate, right? So this would be a typical scenario where you would place your APs in the corners. So by using triangulation, you can see the client signal strength. So it's different if it's here, it's here, it's here. So we can locate them according to that. And more things that I'm not going to cover right now. Presence, actually, before we dig into the location part, presence is actually, it works with a single access point. So if you have this solution, you could actually have presence analytics already enabled for your, maybe, let's say you have a little shop that has one AP and then you have this system. You could have information, of course not the location of the client, but you could see if he's stopping for 3 minutes outside your shopping window, if he comes in. If it's a returning customer, you could detect that as well. So you could have many nice new information that you were totally unaware of before. So that is, there are quite a few possibilities there. In my example, and of course, if you want to do this, have your reports giving you some more details that you can draw up zones. So we are drawing up zones here. Like this example is actually Sensa. So I can have a report or have a location about a user where he is actually. So when it's detected here, this will be fed into the database. Presence and location. There are many gadgets and reports that you can have here. For example, average dwell time of all visitors. Here are the zones. Where are people keeping themselves? For example, there are many more, of course, but we don't have endless time. The analytics part is pretty interesting, guys. This is actually Sensa. And since we set up the system, we had 371 visitors. So we had no clue about that before. And what is interesting here, we have 100 new visitors. That is probably visitors that only came once. And we probably need to fix that. We need the customer to come often. So this we didn't know before. Little example. So we have the zones here as well, and yeah. Another example, when your location, you can have historical playback. This would be pretty interesting to see live, but I can't do it in here. But actually, I can play back the heat map of my wireless network, how busy it is, and so on. So during the night, typically nothing happens, but 10 a.m. things start to happen. This is a heat zone, so this is pretty crowded. So if somebody's complaining about your network at 10 a.m., you can even look it up and see if there was a massive load or something. Maybe you need to add more APs or whatever. This is just to show you better zoomed in the location. This is from a live feed. That actually these green dots are the authenticated clients. These are my clients, of course. The blue ones are the access points, and the red ones, which is pretty important, those are probing clients. Those are clients that are not connected to my network. So that is really important to pick those up, because in the past you had difficulties in finding those. So I can have, like for the presence example, you can have information about clients that are not even connecting to your network. So that is important. The users, you could potentially search for users, like for example, I searched for myself. That sounds pretty lonely, but I found me. And of course, you can see the manufacturer, and we can see more details elsewhere about what sort of a device this is, because we want, of course, to see the moving smart devices, not the PCs, because they don't tend to move that often, but smart device always moves with the user, usually. So this is another example just about the current activity of your network. The current, it is similar to the heat map I had before, but this is just, you can have a current load, of course. But with our approach, we try to do a business case with Sensa just to show the possibility that you can use it for something, and our idea was to use it to locate people, locate them where they are in order to save time for everybody to search for everyone. So if you could do that for 150 people, save them a couple of minutes each day, you have a pure return of investment, of course. This platform I was talking about actually has SOAP XML interface, so actually you can from anywhere fetch those information to a centralized system and actually do anything with it that you want to do. That's actually the imagination is the only thing stopping us from what we can do with this information. But I'm going to show you an example that we actually deployed or are deploying at Sensa. That is that we basically put up a centralized web page, and that web page is actually fetching Wi-Fi information. If I hovered the mouse over here, I would see the location of this client and so on. I can have useful information. For example, this guy hasn't been in the office for 2 days, or is probably on a leave or something. And I can also bring up the calendar status. So these guys are busy, and this is the IAM Jabber client in this case. Status of the client. Is he busy or in a meeting, or is he free? And here I see he's actually in the building. So if I click on the user, I can have some more information about where he actually is. And here it's fetching information from my Jabber client, which is the IAM client in this case. This could be Link or whatever, it doesn't matter. This solution was created by us. It could easily be done on another platforms, pulling on other platforms. This is the implementation that we have. You see that it's not only focusing on Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is just one part of it. We are fetching information from our call manager or our Active Directory and so on. So that's why we can do all these things in one place. So Wi-Fi was actually just one puzzle, one piece of the puzzle. So, as promised, I'm following the theme. It will pay back if you have a business case, if you have some ideas that how it can give you better productivity for all your staff. It will pay off in many cases. So that's about it for me. I hope there are some interesting questions. Everybody's afraid. Yeah. Já, þetta tekið upp, þannig að það betra kannski að tala ensku. Við byrjar á því.
What staff of Sensa, are they informed about the capability of the firm, about locating everyone in the building and the customers? My concern is, of course, this technology is very good for the firm, but there are some issues, I think, about personal.
Of course, yeah. So the question was, are people at Sensa, for example, do they know that they're being located and do they agree and so on? That is a really good question, because there are legal stuff that you have to take care of, and you have to think about this before deploying it, and having some disclaimers for the users so they can opt in, opt out if they are concerned. That's a really good. I think it's different in each case. I mean, if you have a hotspot, public, or if you have a company that is local, of course you advertise this, and of course we are doing that. In this case, we have not deployed anything, so the harm is not yet done. Can I have the average toilet time of the staff? That's a really good question. Actually, you can do that. You can do if there is a business case. But yeah, I mean, I have heard ideas like I can see how the queuing is in the lunchroom or something. So I'll come later when it's less busy. I could even connect that to how many are in the lunchroom when there is fish. Does it decrease or increase? You could connect other things like we were doing there. It's not only Wi-Fi. You could have information compared to something else. So like I said, it's your imagination is the only thing stopping you. How precise is the location system? That's a really good question. Actually, it depends on how you design the network. So if you do it like I mentioned before, having the APs in the corners, that will give you more accuracy. How precise it can be, it would be quite good to have it like 5 to 9 meters of the clients, but there is a technology already today that you can go all the way to 1 meter. That would require a special modular APs, access points, and probably need to have them like 15 meters apart or something like that. But the key thing is to position your APs correctly, and also position them so you will have to tell the system how high it is, and so on, where it is placed exactly, so you have more accuracy if you do that properly. Okay. Any more questions? One more?
Can this solution do traffic monitoring? What web pages or what traffic has been done on each device?
Can this solution do traffic monitoring, like for web usage? Maybe not this solution exactly, but the wireless system, of course. I mean, the traffic is going through your wireless system, so you can basically put the tap on anything And you have application visibility with some vendors, so you actually are analyzing what applications are going over. But probably some device like a firewall or a security appliance would be a better position to do that, because it's more focused on destinations, TCP ports, and so on. Wi-Fi is more like a layer 2, just bringing the clients towards the network. Okay. No more. I think we're almost done anyways. Okay, thank you.